Hello and welcome to another edition of another book review. This week I'll be reviewing Starlings by Jo Walton. I did read this on ebook, so unfortunately I don't have a cover to share with you. This is a short story collection, so I will be just kind of giving you some highlights that I liked about the collection, and then who I'd recommend the collection to, and finish off with what I will be reading for next time. I'll give you a brief rundown of who Jo Walton is. Jo Walton, if you're not aware, is a fairly established sci-fi writer. She won a Nebula and a Hugo about 10 years ago with a book called Among Others. She also had a series of books that I know her from, which were basically alternative history, cozy room mysteries, called the Small Penny trilogy. I believe I read 2 or 3 of those books. They're quite good. I definitely recommend checking those out. This is, I believe, her first collection of short stuff, and is not only a short story collection, but it's also some ideas that she was fleshing out still. I think there's a couple of instances in the book where it's basically first or second chapters from works that she's working on. There's a play and there's a series of poems at the end. So it's a real grab bag of short fiction. Some people may not like that. I understand, especially the stuff that's not finished. I could see how someone would be kind of upset by that. It's a pretty short collection. It's probably something you can listen to in a day or two. If you're listening to it on audiobook, it's pretty short. The stories that I like specifically, and this maybe gives you a little taste if there's something you want to check out. One of them is essentially the story of Snow White told from, it's almost like a prequel to the Snow White story as told from the viewpoint of the magic mirror, which I thought was really cool. I think one of the things that she did was really interesting and really good in her collections is she's able to come up with viewpoint characters of things that are really offbeat or strange, but somehow is still able to make it work. She has this series of vignettes that are basically become a whole collection, basically become an entire short story that are set on. It's almost like it's a colony in outer space where there's very heavy stratification of workers, and they're basically, each section that they live in is based on a month of the year. So the nicer sections of the colony where the wealthier people live towards kind of the middle of the season. And if you're on either of the extremes, if you're in December or November or January or February, they're kind of where the lower class citizens live. That whole story was really interesting. It basically follows a coin that one of the characters receives, and you follow the coin as the coin is transferred from character to character to kind of build out this world. I thought that was probably the best story in the collection. I thought that was really cool. So she has a lot of, in the book, dealing with artificial intelligence. In that story, it also deals with artificial intelligence. So that's one of the things that she kind of hits on again and again in the book. That was, I think, the best, what I would call pure story in the collection. There's a story about a generational ship. So basically, if the idea of there's less than faster than light travel, there's a ship that's carrying people from one area to another, but it's less than faster than light, so they have time to almost create their own culture on the ship. And I thought that story was pretty good. It didn't quite hit the mark. It didn't quite land the ending, but I thought that was an interesting idea of having this generation ship that, because it was a ship that didn't deal with gravity, had kind of created its own cultural artifacts, and what that meant for the people on that ship, and how those could maybe be passed down even after the ship goes or doesn't go where it's going. I thought that was cool. And then the other things I think were more ideas. So these were basically places where there was a first chapter, or it was more of an idea than a fully fleshed out story. One of them, kind of in the same line as Small Penny, was an idea where it was also kind of a series of sketches. They're basically like less than a chapter, but it was basically random bullet points of what would happen if the Great Depression had not ended in America. And that went on for 6 or 7 pages. But I thought that was kind of a cool way just to see how Jo Walton comes up with ideas and how she kind of begins to write her stories. The other one, the one that I wish she actually did do something with out of this entire collection, if there's one thing I think would be cool if she had taken this, and she may have, to the best of my knowledge, she hasn't used this idea in a full novel, but it was almost like if you took C.S. Lewis's The Narnia, especially The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, if you took that idea, so there are these 3 characters who they sound like they're about in their mid-20s in Jo Walton's story, and they all have kind of this survivor guilt because they, at some point in the past, went to this magical land and have returned. Unfortunately, one of the people that they went into this magical world with is no longer there. And so the first chapter of whatever this is, if it does become something else in Starlings, it's just this kind of one chapter. But it's a cool idea. It's basically this, are these group of characters going to go back into this world in order to kind of right this wrong that they have had over them, hanging over them for like 10 years. And they're all kind of clearly scarred by this event, and they clearly haven't gone over it. So it was almost like C.S. Lewis crossed with It, and I thought that was kind of cool. I thought that was by far the best thing in this book, and I hope that she is able to do that and move forward with it. Like I said, there's a play that's a pretty long play. It probably takes up a quarter of the book. I thought it was okay. It didn't really, emotionally, it didn't really hit me particularly hard. And then there's a bunch of poems, and so your mileage may vary as far as how much you enjoy her poetry. But this is a pretty short volume. If you're in a bookstore or something, or you're in a used bookstore especially, you may want to check it out if any of that stuff sounds interesting to you. If you haven't gotten a chance, I would check out the first volume of the Small Penny trilogy, which I think is Halfpenny. There's three books that I can't remember what the names of them are. They're based on English currency, which I'm not English, and so I can't say if it may be Halfpenny or Small Penny. I'm not sure. But look up that trilogy. It's quite good. And until next time, where I will be reading The Men Who Would Be King, which is the story of DreamWorks SKG. Please like the video if you haven't gotten a chance to, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I'll have that next video up pretty quickly. So until next time, bye.